Welcome to the PRsonal Podcast, the podcast where we get to meet the real person behind the professional. I'm absolutely thrilled and amazed to be joined by the inspirational Kat Neill today, who's a mortgage advisor. So Kat, on the 7th of February in 2024, you were nearing the end of your 5K run. What happened next?
Yeah, so ironically, the day before, I'd said to my partner, I'm not getting up with you in the morning. Because we'd been getting up at like 5:30 to go to the gym together. So I was like, I'm going to go for a run. I was training for the Great North Run. And I said, I'm not getting up with you. I'm going to have a little lay in and go later. Anyway, I heard his alarm go off. So I was like, I'll just get up. I'll just go and do it because I'm up now, I'm awake. I'll get it done before work. And off I went. So, running, like you say, nearly at the end of my 5K. And I just heard this. I can't even describe what the noise was like. It was just like the loudest bang I've ever heard. And I was on the pavement at this point. So I'd crossed over at a roundabout and I turned to my left and I seen this car in the middle of the roundabout. And it was like seconds. And the next thing I remember, I was just facing the opposite way to the way that I'd been running. And I thought, oh, it must have hit me. Like, I didn't remember the actual impact. But I obviously knew because I was, laid the opposite way and in pain. So,
my goodness,
just madness, yeah, just mad.
And the reason that I said that I was amazed that you're here is because it's only just a year ago.
Yeah,
it's still so raw.
Yeah, so just gone a year. So 7th of Feb was a year. Miraculously thought after a year I would just feel normal again. I obviously don't feel how I used to, but I'm a lot better than I was. So I'm very grateful for that.
You do always just think that magic year, it'll solve everything in a year.
Because all of the firsts have gone, like the first Christmas, all of the first things that you've missed out on have passed. I don't know, I had in my mind, we'll get the year past and everything will be back to normal, but of course it isn't. So,
no.
Yeah.
And so back to that moment, you're on the pavement, you're facing a different way to what you were running in.
Yeah.
Can you remember what your next feelings were?
Yes, I remember the horrendous pain in my left leg, and I knew that it was really bad because of the pain, pain I'd never had before. And thankfully there was a lady at the other side of the roundabout, and she had seen the car hit me and seen me in the air. That's what she said. She thought I'd been ejected from the car. So she was next to me at the roadside, thankfully. She was a nurse.
Oh my goodness.
So talk about, the stars aligning. And she was amazing. Obviously, I'll always be grateful to her. And she called my partner, called my mum. They came as soon as they could get there.
To the side of the road.
Minutes to the side of the road, yeah. Another lady was passing on her way to work. She called the ambulance. And I remember just saying to Craig, that's my partner, do not talk to me about my leg. I know that this is bad. But ironically, the work I've kind of done on myself since the last 5 years, I would say, since COVID times, I remember just thinking this was meant to happen to me. And I need to just take some deep breaths and remember that I'm okay. I can feel everything, so that's good. I'm obviously conscious. I knew everything that was going on around me, and that wait for the ambulance it felt like about 5 years.
I bet.
It was well over an hour, to be fair.
Oh my goodness.
And it was actually the Great North Air Ambulance car that arrived first. And he was amazing. He was, amazing guy. But to stop the pain, he gave me ketamine.
Okay.
And it was horrific.
Really?
I remember thinking afterwards, how do people do this for fun? How do people do this because they want to? Because the only computer game I've ever played in my life was Sonic the Hedgehog on the Sega Mega Drive when I was 8. And I remember just being I feel like I'm in a computer game.
Okay.
I was hallucinating, and as severe as it sounds, I thought I died because I thought everyone says when you die, your hearing's the last thing to go.
Yes.
And I could hear everything, but I couldn't move. And it was such a strange sensation. I was like, well, what's happening? Because I'm in and out of being here, then I'm in this computer game. And out of everything, I think that has stuck with me probably the most, because the lack of control. And it was frightening, scary.
Yeah, I bet it was. But
stop the pain.
Yeah, I was going to say, surely it was better than that. Could you describe the pain you were in?
Just like, thankfully, I can't really remember the detail of the pain, but as graphic as it sounds, I just felt like my leg was hanging on by a thread. I felt like my leg was like flopping around.
And was it?
Yeah, essentially it was.
Yeah. So what was the extent of the injuries? Yeah,
so what I went to hospital. They took me to James Cook Major Trauma Centre. Amazing people. Could never thank them for everything they've done for me. They were unbelievable. They knew it was obviously, serious trauma. And I had a broken tibia, fibula and ankle. But it was an open fracture, which is where the problems lie, because obviously your bone's exposed to the elements. Your bones are not supposed to be exposed to the elements. And that was obviously why I've since went on to have various complex operations.
Bless you. And did you dare look at your leg when?
No.
I
couldn't move to sit up. Yeah. So when I'd been hit, the position I ended up being in, I was like laid on my back, but my legs were in the air in like a bit of a stress position.
Okay, yeah.
And I didn't dare move them because I didn't know what the damage was. Yeah. So I just actively didn't. Just tried to concentrate on like my breathing and talking about God knows what, I don't know. But yeah.
And you said intuitively you felt that was meant to happen?
Yeah, because I think in my mind, the only explanation is that it was meant to happen to me, because I think there was so many variables as to why I shouldn't have been there, but I was. Like, I'd always said I would never do the Great North Run again. And then I did, or I was going to. And then the alarm going off. Yeah. I wasn't supposed to be up at that time. And so much, like I could have ran a minute faster, a minute slower. There's so much, and I just genuinely believe that everything that's meant to you comes to you. And actually that's been a coping mechanism for me, because I felt like there's nothing I could have done differently to prevent it happening.
It's really interesting.
Yeah.
And I bet, do you replay in your mind thinking, I wish I'd stopped, tied my shoelace, or I wish...
No. Because I genuinely, it's not been a conscious effort to think, well, this would, this had to happen.
Yeah.
I just believe it. Like, I genuinely believe it. And I think it doesn't matter what I'd done that day, what other choices I'd made, that would, it would have happened. Yeah. So, yeah. And it gives me peace, funnily enough.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Because I'm not beating myself up thinking, why didn't I do this?
Yes.
Or I should have done this. It's just like what was meant to happen, happened.
And when you're going through trauma, the value of peace is immense.
Unbelievable.
You recognise that.
Like you just crave normality.
Yeah.
You just crave, like in my case, I didn't want people around me. I just wanted to be left on my own company, but I couldn't. And I still can't now. Like a lot of things I still need help with. So yeah, that element of peace in your mind.
Yes, peace of mind.
Is like, everyone wants that, really. You know, when you think I want to be happy, what you're actually craving is that settledness and that
safety.
Calmness, safety. That's exactly it. And being safe is like a grounding word for me.
Okay.
Because ultimately, if you've ever had any anxiety, which I have, it's the unsafeness, that you need. You want to feel safe. So,
absolutely. Yeah. And how close, you mentioned you had a lot of operations. How close were you to losing your leg? Yeah, so it was, like I said, because it was an open fracture, there's always risk of, infection and various other things. But essentially I went into hospital. They did a short operation the day after I went into hospital to check what the damage was. Then the plastic surgeon came to see me and said, we're going to do this big op. A few days later, like 11 hours, the operation was. Wow.
Essentially rebuilding my left leg from my right. So muscle transfers, skin transfers, essentially like replumbing your leg. It's unbelievable.
Oh my goodness.
The work
like moving
that they do.
Veins?
Yeah. Like, so just getting vessels and, that was more complex than they thought because, I was fit. I wasn't a smoker. They thought everything would go to plan and it didn't. When he come to do the consent forms with me, he was, chatting as they do, and I was probably still a bit away with it and thinking, just sign, I just want to feel better. And he said to me, this is limb-saving surgery. Okay. And I remember it was like a switch to wake me up, like, what? Like I just thought I'd have a broken leg and I'd be back to normal in 6 weeks.
Right.
And obviously throughout the course of the 5 months that I was in and out of hospital, it was the same conversation all the time. And ultimately now, like, I'm well, I'm recovering good, but there's always that potential, I now have metal in my leg. So there's always a potential that something could go wrong. And a definitive prognosis, nobody really knows still yet. So it's obviously less of a worry, but it's still a worry.
Was it almost groundbreaking surgery they were doing?
They're just, I mean, I didn't ask too many questions. Like normally I want to know everything, but I was just thinking this is way above my head. I don't even understand how it works, but it's very intricate, hence the length of time. So an orthopedic surgeon for the bone side, and then a plastic surgeon for all of the vessels and joining things up. And when I come back from surgery, I had to be in like a hot room, like a sauna.
Oh, okay, yeah.
To make sure that the blood flow would work. Yeah, unbelievable. And they would use a little machine called a Doppler to check that there was blood flowing. Like what you use when you're having a baby?
Yeah.
For the heartbeat and things. It's like that.
Wow.
And that was, constant. So always been a concern about my limb. But I don't like to say it out loud because I don't like to speak it into existence.
Yeah, no, sorry for that
it's
question.
It's totally fine. Like I'm okay to talk about anything that you want to ask me, but there's obviously things that get me more than others. But yeah, I remember him saying those words to me and I just was like, what? I didn't realise it was as bad as this. And I've had that conversation a lot, with a lot of the people in the hospital. So
I am just in awe because often a lot of time people come on the podcast who've experienced this maybe 10, 20 years ago. But it is just so raw. You're in the middle. You still perhaps need more operations.
Yeah, well, I'm hopeful that I don't need anything else operation-wise, but this is my positive mind telling me that I'm just going to crack on and be fine. Obviously, from a cosmetic perspective, my legs won't ever look the same. They don't look the same. They're very heavily scarred. And where they had to rebuild my left leg from my right, I ended up having to get that operation done twice.
Oh, my goodness, why?
The first one didn't take. For want of a, it's not a medical term, but that's our language. So I was sent home after the initial 3-week stay to find that it hadn't successfully taken.
How demoralising was that?
That was probably one of the worst days. Probably one of the worst days because I remember just thinking, I cannot go through this again. The heat in the room, like the constant observations, you don't get any rest. Like, a lot. And I remember just thinking, I actually even said to my surgeon, if this doesn't work, you just need to take my leg off because I cannot cope with this anymore. And of course they wouldn't have done that unless it was the very last resort. But I was so desperate that I remember just thinking, I can't deal with it.
Goodness. And what got you through the darkest moments?
I think, obviously, like if you have support from people, it counts for a lot, but I've got the best family. My partner's unbelievable. And I think, I would like to think if it was the other way around, I would be the same for him. But I don't think I could have been.
Oh, well, just like you're saying that you found that internal strength to go through what you faced, I think you do as a friend and family when someone's going through something horrific.
I think it's worse sometimes for the people that aren't going through it because when you're going through something so horrendous, it's like you have a choice to go through it or give up. And that isn't an option for me, ever. But then obviously my family and friends were like angry, felt helpless. So for them, it's that feeling of not knowing what to do for the best for me. Whereas with me, it was just every day. I was just reactive with, I need to get through this next step. And there was some horrendous times. I mean, I had to have leech therapy.
Wow.
Like I didn't even know that was a thing anymore.
I've never known anyone who's had it, but I've always known it was a thing.
So they wanted to encourage the blood flow on the second op to make sure that obviously it didn't happen again. The same thing as the first time. So for 6 days and nights, for the whole day and the whole night, I would have 2 hours rest as such, but it wasn't really a rest because they're constantly in and out all the time. And an hour's leech therapy.
My goodness.
And I was so ill.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
So ill. I had to have 10 blood transfusions.
My goodness.
So if you can give blood, you should.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't be here if those 10 people hadn't. And that was when I felt the most poorly. So it would literally, I'd feel like I was flaking out and then you get the blood because it's getting sucked from you one side and then the other side, they're pumping it into you. That was hard. And also all the other things that come with being in hospital. So you can't get out of bed. So there's people cleaning you. There's people helping you use a bedpan. All of that people don't really want to talk about because they don't want to accept that happens. But as a 36-year-old woman at the time, that was awful, because it was just like, when people say control, they think, oh, that's a bad word. We shouldn't say we want to be in control. Who doesn't want to be in control of their lives? Like, everyone does.
Good point.
So it's like, to not have that control at the basic level of looking after your body.
Totally, yeah.
Was massive. So that was difficult too, yeah.
Yeah, so not only are you in this incredible pain a lot of the time, you've got life-changing injuries, but then you're just so out of control of even day-to-day things, like washing yourself.
Couldn't do anything, couldn't get out of the bed for like I say, first hospital stay I was in 3 weeks, came home for 5 days, then I was in hospital 6 weeks, and I couldn't get out of bed the whole time. So there's so many things that come with that, like far too much in a short conversation, but so much.
It's almost like the mental side becomes just as hard as the physical trauma you're going through. Would you say more?
I would say more, because I'm a mentally strong person. I have worked on myself for probably 5 years. Like I said earlier, I've had anxiety during all of my life, really, but during COVID, really bad health anxiety to the point that I thought I was going to die every day. And I remember at the time thinking, like, why is this happening? Now I know it was for this.
Okay,
like, it's paved the way for this, 100%. But in hospital, naturally, the doctors are amazing, but they are there to heal your leg.
The physical
and
side.
I'm crying out like, I am a person. You know, I need some support from other people that have maybe had similar injuries.
Yes.
Or somebody just to talk to me. Like, you know, the visiting hours were short. You weren't allowed anybody else during the rest of the time. So, you know, at 8:30 on an evening when your friends and family go home, you're laid there just on your own in this room. I was in a room of my own for a long time, thinking, right, well, I've got another night to get through.
Oh my goodness.
Harder than the physical, because the physical you would see progress.
Right.
You could measure it. You know, they would come in and say, oh yeah, this is looking good, or we need to do this, or you need another operation, or whatever it might be. But with the mental, it's like, who have you got apart from yourself?
It's a really good point. And obviously friends and family are amazing.
Yeah.
But they're sometimes not even trained in the right ways to give that psychological, emotional support that they need to.
Yeah, I think friends and family look for fixes. They look for solutions because they don't want you to be sad.
Absolutely.
They can't fix something like that. When you've had a life-changing event, nobody can fix that. That's why I think, you know, one of my coping mechanisms, like I say, was my mind. And I just think I've told myself throughout, like, you've never felt the same forever. And I go with that every day. So, you know, if I'm having a rubbish day, I just think, well, you didn't feel like this yesterday, so you probably won't feel like this tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that's been like a big thing for me, because you've never felt the same your whole life forever, have you?
Feelings are so transient.
Yeah. Just go. And your mind is so limitless that I think when all these negative thoughts come, what about the positive ones? Like, try and bring them in more. And like I say, that's work I've done previous to this.
Okay.
But it's been continual work. Because it's like the gym, you know, you go, you lose the weight you want to lose, then people stop.
Yes.
You can't do that. Like, you need to keep going. It's consistency.
You're so right.
And I think when you feel, you know, after those COVID years, I felt so bad. When I started doing the work on myself, I thought, this is something I need to continue for the rest of my life, because I clearly have a tendency to be anxious. So yeah, thankfully I did do that work, because it's helped me with this. I don't know how I would have coped had I not had those awful times during COVID. I really don't. So yeah.
And we talked about friends and family providing that support. How were they at the roadside when it all happened?
Yeah, I can't really remember,
to
be totally honest. Obviously, my mum was a nervous wreck, naturally. Like, I'm a baby, like, you know.
I know, I can't imagine how it was for her. Just like I can't imagine how awful it was for you.
And helpless. And again, not one, like I said, I didn't want them to talk to me about my leg, because I thought, if I see you're worried, that's going to worry me even more. I couldn't ask for better though. Like I couldn't ask for anybody better. And that's, you know, family, friends, colleague, partner, hospital staff, just, everyone's been kind, really kind to me. And that's what I've learned. When you really need help, people will show up for you. And they do.
Yeah, mostly, you know, I think it's lovely that you've had that experience. I've spoken to other people sometimes on this podcast, how not only have they had to manage, say, for example, cancer in this situation, they've also had to manage their family's reactions to it as well, which can be draining, because just like they don't want to see you hurt, you don't want to see them hurting because you're hurt.
Exactly. So it's like, sometimes, I mean, it depends on your relationships, doesn't it? I've always had really secure attachments with my family and friends, but it does depend, because sometimes in families, you can't be yourself because you're frightened of upsetting other people. Luckily, I've never had that. That's not to say that, you know, some things I maybe say to my psychologist, I wouldn't maybe say to my family and friends, because you are conscious they're emotionally attached to you. So, and of course, they're a lot more angry than me. So, you know, again, it hasn't been a conscious thing, but I don't feel any bitterness or anger.
That's incredible.
They maybe do, but again, that's because it hasn't happened to them. So, and it's understandable.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So how is your mindset? You've mentioned you had a strong mindset anyway. How has it evolved throughout your recovery? Yeah,
so I think I've learned loads. Like I've learned the power of my mind is probably more powerful than I've ever realised it was. And again, to kind of repeat what I'd already said, I feel like the tools that I'd learned previous have helped me get through. I wouldn't necessarily say my mindset has changed because I feel like I'd done the work previous, but it's been, you can do as much work as you want, you can read as many books, you can have as much therapy. It's when you need to do the work that you realise if you've done the work, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does when you really need it.
When you need it. So when the challenge comes to you, it's like, can I put into place everything that I've learned that I should be doing? Yeah. Because actually with anxiety, a lot of it is a logical worry, whereas this is logical.
It's definitely logical.
You know, it's things that may happen. Yeah. And it's things that have happened. So I think it's, if anything, it's gave me like a test of, you know, has all of that work that you've done worked? Yeah. That's not to say that I've not had hard days. You know, I have. I've had a lot of hard days, but thankfully they're not as many as I think I probably would have had.
Yeah, and I said this to you when you came in, to look at you, you look fabulous. You would never realise the things, but that can create problems in itself.
Yeah, massively. So especially when I'm out and about, like the world now to me feels massive. Okay. So I felt like I was kind of institutionalised. I've been in hospital for like 5 months on and off. Yeah. The world's huge. So, you know, you go out, everyone is doing their own thing still, of course they're going to be. And you know, if people come near me, I'm nervous. You can't see that there's anything wrong with me, you know, because, you know, I'm hiding it with my clothes, albeit I have, you know, been out with shorts and things on, you know, because I want to. But, yeah, you know, there's children, there's dogs, like there's so many things. I kind of feel like I have no spontaneity in my life anymore because I'm constantly thinking, nobody can see there's anything wrong. So I need to be prepared for what if all the time. Okay. And yeah, I think that's where the energy goes. That is where the energy goes because it's non-stop.
Yeah. So almost every sort of contingency plan you can think of. Oh yeah. Analysing
always
risks.
Like a risk assessment. Yeah. How do I get out of this if it doesn't work?
Yes.
Like I said to you when I first came in, I don't feel like myself still. Obviously, from not being mobile, I've put weight on. Can't wear the clothes I would wear because my legs, you know, my feet are bigger, and there will be, you know, for a long time, if not forever. So only really this week I've started to feel like, right, I'm going to get some clothes that are like my clothes rather than like big baggy tracksuits and things. And that's a nice feeling because I think, you know, I obviously want to go back to being me.
Yeah, yeah.
Even though I don't really know what that's like now.
No, because it might be a different version of you. And identity is such an important thing for us as humans.
Massive.
We had another guest on the show who lost his wife when they had like a 6-week-old baby, and he said the only way he could cope was reinventing his identity to kind of someone new because he was someone new inside.
So much has changed. And I guess I've read lots, and in books I've read, it's like you are a new version of yourself every day anyway.
Yeah. Just gradually, maybe.
But it's just small. Yeah. Whereas I've been like, you know, right, you're going to be like this now. You know, it's not been a conscious choice. And I think, again, that's the thing. A lot of choices have been taken away from me, which is why on my mindset, I'm so adamant that was one of the things I still had control over.
Yeah, good point.
So like a lot of things were taken away from me on that day, but the power of my mind will never be took from me. So I've kind of homed in on that as a bit like, right, this is what I'm going to work on. And this is going to be the thing that I will excel in.
Good for you.
It's been my focus, really. So
it's like that, there's a Katy Perry song, isn't there? Part of me, where it's like, this is the part of me you're never going to take away from
exactly
me.
That. Yeah, exactly that.
But it's still so strong. It's easier said than done.
Oh, so. Definitely. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying, you know, I wake up every morning, I'm like, you know, happy as Larry. It's definitely not like that. But I know it's important.
Yes.
And I think, you know, I could go to bed and cry and stare in the mirror and be depressed. You know, I could. Quite easily. I have had spells where I felt like that, but it will not help me get better. So I just have to keep going.
Yeah. No, your mindset is incredible.
Stories are at the heart of the Personal Podcast, and we're so grateful for everyone who comes on and shares them. Stories are also at the heart of a strong PR campaign. And at Harvey and Hugo, we believe that everyone's story deserves a chance to be heard. That's why we're on a mission to give you a voice amplified through the power of story. Our stories are shared in the form of press releases, social media, content marketing, videography, photography, animation, graphic design, and podcasting. Our stories aren't just heard, they're shared, watched, clicked, but most importantly, they are felt. It's this stirring of emotions that cuts through the noise to light fires within people and activate them towards your purpose. So one question for you. Are you ready to share your story? Harvey and Hugo, your voice amplified.
And how many operations did you say you've had?
9 I've had now.
9,
Yeah.
Goodness, and some of them are 11 hours long?
Yeah, so 2 were 11 hours long, which was the intricate plastic surgery, and then I've had skin grafts. Had obviously when I first came out of hospital, I had a external fixator, which is like a big metal frame around the outside of my leg.
Goodness.
That was a lot. Couldn't really sleep
I
much
bet.
with that.
Oh, goodness, yeah.
So, 9 ops. Ironically, with the health anxiety side, I feel like the amount of time I was in hospital and the amount of ops I've had, it's kind of dulled that down a little bit for me. Because it's like, okay, so my worry was always something's going to happen and I'm going to die. It was always I'm going to die, like always, which is health anxiety in a nutshell, really. But now, I've been put to sleep for an operation. I've been put to sleep 9 times for an operation. So, okay, if I ever need elective surgery in the future, I'm all right with that.
Yeah.
Like I know the process. And for me, the way my mind works is I'm very process driven. So if I know how something's going to look, I can deal with it. It's the uncertainty, which but nobody likes change.
No.
Nobody likes not knowing what tomorrow's going to look like. Ultimately, nobody does.
No.
And ironically, the things I've worried about haven't happened, but the thing I never worried about, i.e. getting run over on a pavement, has. So it just shows,
So that's maybe
takes energy from you.
Definitely, yeah. As humans, like you say, we think we're in control, but there's so much that's out of our control.
Always.
And then all the things you spend time worrying about, usually they don't happen, like you're saying.
Absolutely. And that's not to take away from during my recovery, my friends have been a bit like, oh, this has happened today. I feel awful because it's nothing. And I'm like, no. If the worst thing that's happened to you is burning your toast on that day, that is the worst thing that's in your life. Yeah. And that's fine. Like, still come to me. I still want to be a good friend. And actually, sometimes it would take away from me, what I was worrying about. So
that's really good of you and perceptive of you to notice that they might worrying about their feelings about your situation during a time you're going through so much. That's really
still important
kind.
to be a good person. Even though I'm going through recovery, like my values. I've done a lot of work with my psychologist around being values consistent, and I have. The person I was before inside is the same person as I am. Yeah. But it just looks different.
Yeah, because a lot of people would still be like, oh, I don't care if you burnt your toast. I know that's just an example. Look at me, look at my leg, How dare you?
Yeah, but luckily, again, it's not been a conscious decision. I've never thought, why me? Like, I genuinely have never thought that, because I think, why not me? Why not me? Like, good things happen to us all the time and we never, ever question it. But when something bad happens, we're like, why? Well, like, why not? That is what I believe. That's not me just saying that flippantly. No. Because I know some people won't be able to feel that way. Yeah. But I do. I really do.
Wow. You really do have a special mindset to think that way. Now, I am intrigued about the leech therapy.
Yeah. I've got pictures that I can show you. They're pretty grim.
Please do. How many did you have on you?
Well, the funny thing was I ran out of leeches because I needed so many. So I had to get them from another hospital. But so it was for 24 hours. So like 4, around 4 each time. So 4 every hour. And then whether they would stay on for the whole hour was a different ballgame because, they're a law unto themselves. So it was for 6 whole days and nights. So
my goodness.
A lot, basically.
Wow.
Without having to work out the maths.
And could you look at them while they were there? Yeah. And how did it feel? Could you feel that they were stuck in the blood?
It was like a bit of a pull.
Okay.
I was a bit concerned at first because they would like wriggle off, because with leeches, once they're full of blood, they just drop off.
Yeah.
So like the nurses had come in, like I would never sleep, of course, when they were on, because I just couldn't. But like one of the nurses came in one night and one had just fell onto the floor because it was full, and I was like, where's the leech gone? So they were all laughing, saying you need to name them and things, and I was like, it's my body. Like, they're obviously making lightheartedness of it, because what else can you do?
Yeah.
But I remember just being like, is this actually my life? Like, what is this?
Yeah, sorry, I'm laughing, but I shouldn't.
It's like, you know, it is what it is. And at the end of the day, they did what they needed to do.
Yeah, it is remarkable that they use nature, all the technology we have, and we're using like a
Exactly. Reminds me of Call the Midwife. Do you know, like they use all different things, and I watch it now thinking, do they do that? They actually still do.
Wow.
So, I just felt so poorly with it. That's why I think there's
because you were losing so much blood.
Yeah.
I mean, how much blood were they taking from you?
I don't really know in terms of measures, but I know that obviously during those 6 days I needed 10 blood transfusions.
So the blood transfusions were purely for the leeches to replace?
Oh
my goodness.
That,
Wow.
Yeah. And I've always been a little bit anemic and things, you know, before. But yeah, primarily because...
No, blood loss is awful. I had quite a lot of blood loss during pregnancy.
Did you? Yeah.
And I had the pretend blood transfusion, ferritin or something like that.
Right, yeah.
Which you feel an effect almost straight away.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
My friend came to see me and I remember just being like laid on the bed thinking I feel horrendous. And she said, you got the transfusion, and it was just like you had a new lease of life.
Yeah. Like you say, it shows the power of blood. And
and I'm devastated by that because I can't give blood anymore. I'll never be able to give blood
because you've had someone else's blood.
Because I've had transfused blood.
Yeah.
So that was difficult as well, because I did give blood and I believed so passionately in it. And that's sad, because that's not a short-term loss, that's a long-term loss. So yeah, that was difficult.
Yeah, I need to look into whether I can give blood again. I remember looking into it a while ago because I'd had a glandular fever type virus. I couldn't for a certain amount of years.
That's right, yeah.
But actually you've reminded me I should look into it because it is remarkable.
So important.
Yeah, definitely. Was there a particular mantra that kept you going throughout your recovery?
So I journaled the whole time. So I've got about 5 books worth of journals.
Wow.
And again, following on from coping mechanisms I've used in the past, my grounding words are safe, happy, healthy, loved.
Okay.
And I would say that in my head out loud anyway. You know, if anyone come into the room, they'd probably think what you're doing. But talking to yourself, speaking the words out loud is so much more powerful than just writing them down, because you're hearing it. Same as if you think of bad thoughts, how powerful it can be.
Yeah.
So definitely that, constantly write that in my journal every day. The first thing I would write alongside whatever else I was feeling. And that whole, your mind is limitless. So that's so powerful, because I think it is. Nobody knows what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I can go wherever I want with my mind.
Yes.
That's for me. And they were the 2 things really. So those grounding words consistently, and the more you say something, you believe it.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then, the limitless mind thing. And I think, but journaling massively was, got me through.
Yeah, I really believe in the power of journaling.
So good.
And
so good.
Getting those words out of your head, almost out of your body.
Like a brain dump, just gone. And it's like packed. I've journaled for 8 years now. So it's something I'd already started doing. And it's just second nature to me now. It's like part of my, my everyday. But whilst you're in hospital and there's not much else to do, it's a great thing to. And I read it back now and I think, wow, some of them days were hard.
That's another thing. It almost becomes therapy reading it back, because you force yourself to revisit it. And if they say feeling is healing, you're going through it again. And I feel like sometimes you can stop your mind from going back to it in the future if you just live it now. Yeah. Some people just won't. They'll just...
Some people can't. Like they just can't do it. But definitely, like, the whole feel the fear and do it anyway. It's awful. Like, to walk into a supermarket, for example, the first time I had to do it, all I wanted to do was run out. I was thinking, I can't cope with this.
Yeah.
But I thought, the more I avoid this, the harder it's going to be.
Yeah.
So you do it, it's painful.
Yeah.
But then it's not as painful when you keep doing it. And that's how
literally
I've
pushing
managed.
through. Feel the fear, do it anyway, don't you say?
Literally, yeah.
Brilliant. And so a year on, how are you feeling about everything?
So I feel vulnerable. And I think vulnerability is a word, again, that not a lot of people lean into.
No.
But I think vulnerability is very good. I think it brings authenticity. And I think people feel what you feel. They can empathise with you. But the vulnerability I felt during this has been one that I don't want to feel. A loss of independence, having to rely on people, which is not not me.
Yeah.
But, coupled with that, I'm of course grateful. Every day that I'm healthy, I'm grateful. Grateful for people's kindness, because people have just shown up in abundance. People I've not spoken to in years, not nosy people, just, genuine people that are really concerned. And I'm grieving, of course I'm grieving. I'm grieving for my old body, my old life. Don't know if I'll ever get that back. Don't know if I'd ever want that back. During pre-accident, the worries I thought I had weren't really anything, but that's life,
Yeah.
And I think uncertainty is massive as well. More uncertainty than most people, because I don't know what the future's going to look like. But then again, that could be a good thing, because I believe that this has happened in order to allow me to do something powerful, and I don't know what that's going to look like.
Yeah.
But I feel it will.
Move you onto a higher level.
Yeah, I would like to think I can talk to people who have had similar things. I got a lot of help from Day One Trauma Charity, amazing people. I would love to give back to them. So all of that, it's all in my head of ways that this horrible time can be used for good, really.
I know I keep harping on about it, but it is just another reason I'm so grateful that you've come on the podcast, particularly while it is so raw, because there will be people listening that are perhaps in a similar situation. And when you are in a situation of trauma, you just want to almost hear from other people that they've got through it. So, or how they're coping at getting through it.
And I think as well, we underestimate ourselves. So if I was looking at somebody else going through this, I would think I could never do that. But when you're in it, you just do. And you just find ways to get through. And at the minute, I just live by each hour. Sometimes I'll get up in the morning, I might be, supposed to be going to the gym, for example, and I'll think, can't quite do that today. And I allow myself to be able to do that. At the start, it was difficult, because by default, I want to be perfect. It's impossible, but a lot of us have that tendency. And it was difficult, once I could start doing things again, I wanted to do it all. And I've had to pull back a little bit with that, because it's just not possible. Like, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, not even tired. Like, I am exhausted. So, I've got to pace my days, pace my weeks. But you do get through it, because what other choice do you have?
You do, but I think what is remarkable is your mindset, because, if I was thinking if it was me, I would get through it because I had no choice physically, but I don't think I'd be as strong as you are. And,
I wouldn't think I would be if I didn't know I could be. But there's lots of things around you that get through. So if you have children, that's a massive one.
Yeah, true.
I know you do. So I don't. And again, I've never wanted children. And ironically, how this has worked out, if I had children, that would have been hard. But you lean on things that get you, to help you get through. That's why I think sometimes it is worse for people looking in. Because
yes and no.
they're not going through it.
And where are you at in your physical recovery?
So back at the gym. So I've got a really
that's
good physio.
amazing.
I know, honestly, the day I went in, I was just like, I'm just going to live here now. And of course I'm not, because, who loves the gym? Nobody in particular. But
I actually do.
Well,
Sorry.
do I actually do as well. I'm saying that. But, I feel like I have to caveat that with who wants to go to the gym. But I enjoy it for my mind.
Yes, me too.
Physically it's hard work. And especially at the moment, it's very hard work. But I've got a great physio, amazing guy. I see him a few times a week, and then I do some sessions on my own as well. I obviously have a lot of restrictions, so my walking pattern is not great. I can't run, I can't jump, I can't kneel. Stairs, I'm okay with now, but it's not I wouldn't walk stairs in a usual way. So a lot of physical restrictions. Hills, I've got a lot of ankle restriction. But I'm progressing all the time, and I've monitored that really, and I just think every day if I can just try and be a little bit better, that's all I want.
But still it must get frustrating, when you're not seeing the progress you want to achieve.
And you plateau. So, at the start when I got back to the gym, it's like, right, get your strength from nothing to like a decent level. I'm kind of there now. So it's like, right, how do we keep progressing? Will I need any more interventions for like the restrictions that I've got in place? What do I need to do to still make sure I'm motivated and I still want to kind of, push through? And And at the start, it was things like I would do little lists for myself. So like make my bed was like hard work at first. Walk down the stairs on my own, make my own breakfast, very basic things. Now it might be like walking home from here today, for example. Let's try and see if I can do that. Or
are you going to?
I don't know. So my stepdad said, I'll come and pick you up. And I was like, I might just see if I can walk.
You're amazing.
So yeah, I think you need just little things. Just try and be a little bit better every day is all I'm trying to do.
I think that's a good motto for anyone. And, you know, often people say that it's almost a year on when people think, oh, you're out of hospital now, you don't need any more operations, you're looking good, you must be fine now. And a lot of the support drops. What would you kind of say about that?
Honestly, it's like you read my mind, because that's exactly it. And it's similar to when somebody passes away. Yeah. So everyone rallies around you because they know that like it's a horrible time for you. And then people's lives are busy. You're not in as desperate situation anymore. So your true friends will still always show up, but just in different ways. So they might just FaceTime you instead of coming round.
Okay.
Or a lot of my friends know that I like my own company. So they'll say, do you want company today, or would you prefer to be on your own? But yeah, it definitely has, got less, because I've not needed people as much, which I see as a good thing really as well, because I think the less people I have around me, the better I'm doing, really.
Okay.
But it is hard, because, there'll be times when I'm in the house and I'm like, well, no, I've not seen anybody today. Or I wish I could go in a hot tub with my friends, for example.
Yeah.
And I can't do that.
Yeah.
So there is still things where I feel like I'm not living a usual life, should we say. But a lot of the time now it's things that I don't know I can't do until they come to me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I can't thank people enough, because they've been great. It's just naturally people's lives move on. Mine hasn't, mine won't for a long time, but theirs is going to, because, it's not their life, it's my life. So
again, you're so understanding, which again, I don't think a lot of people would be. And, you've mentioned some of the things that are now a challenge. The accidents clearly changed things that were possible before, but that aren't possible anymore. Could you give us some examples?
So like, I used to love running. I used to do quite a lot of charity runs, long distance, half marathon, 10K, all of that type of thing. I genuinely don't think I'll ever do that again.
Okay.
That's not to say I'm being defeatist, but it's like I could train to do it. I don't know how long that will take me to get there, but I would be putting unnecessary pressure on that already weak leg.
I understand.
And if I was a professional runner and things, and it was life-changing, as in, my job or something, then that would be a different story. But I think, again, at the start, I was so determined. I was like, I will do a half marathon again. Now I'm just a little bit more like, okay, so my mind goal is maybe 5K.
Okay.
Maybe once, or maybe I'll do the park run once a month. It's a little bit less like, strict and as intense, because I don't want to put myself under any more pressure.
Yeah.
I want to just keep myself safe, like we say, that safe word of I'm always going to push myself to do what I can, but I'm also not stupid.
Okay.
And I'm not going to put myself in risky situations for no real benefit apart from to say I've done it.
Just to prove a point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That makes sense.
But a lot, restrictions, like I said earlier on, no spontaneity. A lot of choices have been taken away from me. My relationships changed massively. It went from partnership to like a carer for a long time. So much. And things, like I say, until they come to me, I don't know what I'm missing out on, if that makes sense, because I'm functioning now. I can get myself dressed, I can get up, I can walk so far. I'm back driving because I drive an automatic, so I don't use my left leg, which is good.
Good independence.
Can go out.
Yeah.
But ultimately, that doesn't come without the thought process for days in advance. Where am I going to park? What if somebody parks next to me? I can't get out of the car.
Yes.
I need a disabled space. So all of that is what takes, the energy, and that's why I think I'm constantly tired.
Yeah, that mental capacity is taken up.
Massive.
Yeah.
While still trying to be a good partner, a good friend, a good daughter, a good auntie. Like it's a lot to do.
People wouldn't expect that either. I think they just think, oh, you're tired because
because I've got a physical injury.
Leg. Yeah, the physical side, but all the mental side that comes with that physical injury. Yeah.
And I think as well, luckily, sensation-wise, we call it rather than pain, I've been all right,
Okay.
I've been all right. So As much as I can, I don't take pain relief. Like, I felt okay too. In hospital, obviously that was different. It was very clinical.
No more ketamine then.
No more ketamine. But I tell you what, they used to give me fentanyl, I think it's called, before the anaesthetic, and I used to be like, oh, I feel like I'm on a cloud.
I've had that. Mm-hmm.
I quite like that.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed that.
But yeah, so they were strong painkillers. But at home, you know, I've just tried to be careful with that I'm not doing too much and things. Because otherwise you do get caught up on, oh, I'm in pain every day, I can't do that, I'm in pain. And you tell yourself that you are. And then I genuinely believe a lot of what you think in your mind manifests into your body. That was what was wrong with me during COVID. It was all mental. Yeah. But I had physical symptoms.
Yeah.
Because
the mind's so strong.
So strong.
And equally though, you know, pain is so exhausting, just going through pain.
So much, yeah. And even just positioning of sleeping, sitting, I'll maybe do like an hour and a half sat, then I'll need to move. Yeah. Or I might wake up in the middle of the night and I feel like I've got restless leg syndrome, but with a leg that I can't lift without like lifting. Okay. So, you know, it's I've had to have a lot of equipment in my house for a long time, which I didn't want, but I needed. And bit by bit, that's getting less and less, which is good progress. It's so good. To have my front room back to normal. Oh my God.
Again, it's things you don't think of.
No, exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
And if you could give pre-accident Kat any advice from you today, what would it be?
I would say, and this isn't like to disregard people that are unhappy with the body because it's valid, but if you have a body that allows you to do everything you want to do in life, just cherish it. So if you do feel like you're half a stone overweight and you want to lose weight, do something about it. Like if you do think, I can't wear that for this reason, you can. Like, your body is carrying you. It's not all of you. Mm-hmm. But I was so caught up on that. A lot of the time as women we are, and men as well, to be fair, but I can't wear them shorts because I've got a bit of cellulite or I'm pale. Yeah. People might look at me. So what if they do? Yeah. Like, it's fine. It doesn't matter. And now actually, only in the gym so far I've wore shorts. And I feel empowered by it because I'm like, if I seen me, I would be like, good on her. Like, she's not hiding away from this. Yeah. Just haven't quite managed to do it in public yet, but that's kind of weather related as well. Yeah, true. So, yeah, we've only had 2 days of sunshine. So I was walking around with a mini skirt on, people would be like, what's she doing? So yeah, but there's not always days that I don't like my legs, they don't look good. But I think they're allowing me to do what I want to do. Yeah. To the best I can at the moment. Yeah. And this is just a moment in time. Mm-hmm. You know, like it will hopefully get better. You know, they're going to look at cosmetic procedures for me. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and even like my skin grafts and things have faded already, the colour of them. Okay. They took so long to heal as well, just for the sheer trauma that my body had had. So you know, your other legs had so much trauma. Yeah, I've got like a quarter of my leg that looks like previous, because this leg is the damaged one and the top is fully scarred and all of this side of my leg is fully scarred as well. Oh my goodness, bless you. So it's only the right calf that looks like my other legs used to look. But like, and do you know what? My other legs were good when I look back. They were so good. That's another thing, isn't it? Retrospectively, you're like, oh, why was I complaining back then? Why did I care? They looked really good. And you know what? Even today, when I'm putting my makeup on, I was just like, oh, I've started to look old. I was like, well, you're only going to get older, so just appreciate today. Well, that's it. And I think, do you know what? Like, to grow old is a good thing. Absolutely. It's a privilege, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely. And like you said about the functionality of your body, that's what matters. You know, it is a vehicle for helping you achieve what you need to do in life. Yeah. And it doesn't matter what it looks like, unless you're not happy, but then, like you say, do something about it. Well, exactly, that's the thing. It's like nobody's coming to save you. So if you're not happy with something, you need to do something to change whatever it is you're not happy with. Yeah. And yeah, don't get me wrong, like I said to my psychologist this morning, that's not me saying like, if I had my old body, I'd never mourn again, because I would, because I'm human. Yeah. But it's just like, it was allowing me to do if I wanted to go and walk 20 miles, I could. Yeah. We take it for granted so much. Absolutely. Yeah. I know. Yeah. And I was smiling, loving the fact that you're wearing gym shorts in the gym. Yeah. You shared selfie. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that is amazing. Yeah. I can't remember I commented, but I remember thinking. I think you did. I think you did. Good for you. Yeah, I think you did. Yeah. And people will have a little look, but like, I think that I would like to think they're looking, thinking, I wonder what's happened to her. Not like, oh. Yeah, and would you like them to talk about it to you or not? Is it too soon? I am totally fine with I think, again, a coping mechanism for me is talking about it. Yeah. So I would rather somebody ask me directly than just be looking, because then I'm questioning what they're thinking. Yeah. Because most people think most people wouldn't know I'd got run over.
Yeah.
Like the guy I was chatting to before you came in, he asked me, and I said, and he said, oh, because I think people think a broken leg, you've like fell doing an exercise or something. But so I would rather them ask me, because I think then I can, explain.
Yeah.
This is what it is. But this has all happened to me. But look, I'm walking, I'm at the gym. Like, this is amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible.
So I
Yeah.
would rather them ask me.
I always ask that question because I'm really open, and I think it's respectful to ask in a way, but I know everyone's individual. Some people don't want to go there.
Yeah.
My cousin had a really bad car accident, and she had like a lot of surgery on her face, and she was like, I'd rather people ask me, rather than just stare and develop their own narrative about it.
Well, exactly, they make the story up.
Yeah.
But it is funny, I remember the first time I went out for food and I had this external fixator on my leg still, and it was an older lady, so she just obviously said what come to her head.
Yes, of course.
And she was just like, oh, what's happened to you? Like in that tone, and I just literally turned on and said, I got run over. And she went, oh. And like you could see the panic, and I thought, I don't mind if you ask me, but I think she'd said that without thinking of what she might get as an answer.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, again, all things that you probably never thought you'd have to be dealing with.
Never.
What message do you hope your story sends to other people facing similar trauma?
I think really just to cover off what I've already said about when you think you're not going to get through something, you usually do. Ask for help, call for, on other people for support, and be open. Don't try and protect other people's feelings by not being yourself, because I think it's important for your recovery that people are aware of how you are feeling. And I just think, I just think whatever happens to you, you learn from. So in my experience, I always learnt the most in the worst times. And when you're going through it, you think, I don't want to go through this. This is awful. But then something happens further down the line, you think, oh, that's why. That's why that happened. That had to happen for this to happen. And I believe that. But again, that's not flippant to say, if you're struggling, it's okay to struggle.
Yeah.
Like, it's natural. If you've gone through a life-changing event, you are going to have some sad days. And just don't be hard on yourself, because, you're human at the end of the day, not a machine. So,
Absolutely. And asking for help, such a simple one, but so many people don't do it. Yeah. They're afraid of putting other people out. But actually, I've found as humans, you like to help your friends. You like to help people anyway.
It's nice to feel needed.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, if somebody said, I can do that for you. Or, even now when I've not been able to physically go places, I'm still like to my friends, come to me or ring me. I always still want to be as I was. I don't want, my physicality's changed so much. I don't want my personality to as well.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
You seem like you've got a beautiful personality. You're so kind and caring despite going through everything.
Craig might not agree.
Well, there's some questions that might concern him later.
I know it's coming.
So my final question is kind of, what can others do to better support someone going through a life-altering injury?
So I would say for that one, be patient is obviously number one. Allow the person to be who they need to be in that moment, whether it's happy, sad, angry, whatever it is. And don't try and find solutions, because usually with a life-changing event, you cannot fix the problem. Nobody can usually. And I just think for people to know that you are there, so I have a phrase like being held in mind. A lot of people won't have knew what to say to me during this. Why would they? Like, I've never been through anything like this before, but just say something. Just say something. So just send a text, thinking of you, or hope you're okay today. It doesn't even need to be a conversation. Like, there was a lot of time in hospital where I couldn't even have the strength to text back. But to know that those people were thinking about me means the world. And obviously as well, like carers, unpaid carers are unbelievable people, and there is so many. And there is support that you can get. So charities, a lot of support online, forums. I think that's important, because when you are going through something like this as the carer person, you probably feel like you're on your own. Like, I don't know, because I've never had to do it, thankfully, but I think it would be quite lonely, because again, they're so mindful of not upsetting the person that it's happening to. They sometimes would get forgotten about. I think.
They need to offload.
And for them to support you, they need to be well.
Yes, absolutely.
In themselves.
Yeah.
And there definitely is support, you know, like there's definitely charities and things that can help with that. But yeah, just listen to the person. Don't just hear. I think that's massive as well. Really listen to what the person wants and what the person needs at that moment. I've had times where I've just been crying and Craig's like, what can I do? And I'm like, just nothing. Just let me cry. Just leave me and let me cry and I'll be all right in 10 minutes. And that's hard because people don't want to see you upset. But I think just be there in whatever capacity you can be in.
Yeah, really wise advice. And that just sends something, because so many people, they put off because they don't think they can find the right thing to say.
Oh, definitely.
And there's that question, which when I've been through difficult situations, it's always like, how are you? And it's like, well, how do you think I am?
I'm great.
I
got run over, I'm marvellous.
And it's just, and then people say that and they don't mean it. And, you know,
it's hard.
But I'm thinking of you.
Yeah,
it's
thinking
really
of you,
advice.
or I'm holding you in my mind. I love that phrase. I just think, you know, it lets the person know that they don't even want to respond sometimes. But and something else as well that, you know, when people say, let me know if there's anything I can do.
Yeah.
I think just do something.
That's a good point.
You know, I don't have to tell you. So, you know, like one of my friends had batch cooked loads of food and brought it around for me because she knew that Craig, you know, would be tired. He'd been cooking and stuff for me. Little things like that where you're being there without being asked to be there as well. Like one of my really good friends, who's just been unbelievable. She used to just come to hospital and I would be asleep and she'd just sit in my bed in my room. Just so that I knew if I woke up, somebody was there at visiting time.
Oh, that's incredible.
And I would say, I'm tired, like, you don't need to come. And she'd say, no, I'm just coming to sit at the end of your bed. Like, that's massive.
Yeah.
She didn't need to do that. I didn't even know she was there sometimes. Good people. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Good people.
I think good people surround themselves with good people.
I do. I think you attract it, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
I definitely do.
So your friends and family are a credit to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Like I say, you're a remarkable cat. Thank you so much.
Thank you as well.
We've now got on a lighter note the regular questions.
I'm more nervous about these than the other ones.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best, how would you rate yourself at the following?
Yeah.
How good looking are you?
We'll go middle of the road at the minute. I might have said 7 before or 8, but we'll go 5.
Oh, do you
keeping it steady.
Do you feel it's really affected your confidence in how you look? Oh, bless you.
Like thankfully, you know, the only injuries were my legs, but the whole of my body has been affected. So we'll go middle of the road. It will increase, hopefully.
Absolutely. How funny are you?
I'm quite a serious girl, you know.
Oh, really? You've made me laugh a lot. Even considering the topic.
we'll go 3. Yeah, I would say below average on being funny.
Oh, okay.
I think so.
How good at cooking are you?
Bad. 1.
Well,
I don't have the heart. And I've got better. I was probably like 0, but Craig is a fabulous cook.
Perfect.
So I'm like, there you go. Enjoy
it
the
weakens
kitchen.
your own skills, doesn't it, when you've got someone stronger in another area?
Well, I'm like, you're better, so you just crack on.
Absolutely. Are you good at singing?
Do the karaoke.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
What's your karaoke go-to?
Do you know what I sang last time I did the karaoke was the Noisettes, Never Forget You.
Oh, yeah.
And I actually thought I was like amazing. And when I heard it back, I thought I sound like the Cats chorus. So it's probably like 4 realistically, I think. Yeah, we'll go 4.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll go 4.
Okay, this is an interesting one. Did you drink before the accident? Do you still drink, or has it changed your relationship with alcohol?
So I never really drank much before the accident. Like I would not drink for a while, then like go to the races or something, have a big blowout and be wild. Like,
yes.
Just absolutely wild. Then have a hangover for 4 days and wished I'd never done it. But since my accident, so the last time I drank was the 31st of December 2023.
Oh, okay.
So it was like New Year's Eve before my accident.
So you haven't touched a drop since?
No, and do you know what? I think, 1, I couldn't cope with the anxiety from it, I don't think. 2, I'd be frightened. I fell or someone bumped in it. I wouldn't want to go into a bar. Do you know? I would feel like unsafe. And I just think I don't need it in my life. So I just think I'm not bothered. Like Craig used to drink more than me. He stopped drinking too. So it's like easy for us. It doesn't come into our lives really anymore.
I know so many people who are on the same train of thought. I drink so much less than I ever did. And again, just like big occasional, special occasions. But yeah, the anxiety isn't nice to deal with, especially.
And as you get older, it's worse.
And if you're already going through a lot, then, and I hadn't thought about feeling a bit wobbly and unsteady. That would be a scary feeling.
And like going out, it's like shoes. I'm not wearing clothes and shoes that I want. So I just think, and I wouldn't drink in the house normally because I used to like to have a drink to have a dance.
Yes, me too.
Yeah.
So you don't have any children. Do you
No.
have any animals or pets?
No.
No?
No,
So-
that's worked out well as well, because can you imagine I had a dog or something this
Yeah,
time?
that is
Would've
true.
been hard.
Yeah.
So Craig has 2 children, so they've
Okay.
been in my life for 7 years. I wouldn't necessarily say I've raised them as such, because obviously they're his children.
Yeah, yeah.
I have a niece and 2 nephews who I just absolutely adore, and I think I'm a good auntie. So,
Oh, lovely.
but yeah, no children.
I'm sure you are. What would you rate your auntying skills?
We're going 10 for auntie and skills.
Awesome,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think so. If you ask Darcy, who's 4, she said yesterday I looked 10 out of 10.
Awesome.
So that was good.
Yeah.
So we'll go
Brilliant.
with that.
How good a friend are you?
I'm going 10 for that as well, you know,
You
which
do
is
sound
backing
good.
myself a lot, but I think it's probably one of my best qualities.
From what I've heard, I
I hope my friends are saying 10 too. Yeah.
How intelligent are you?
Let's go 8.
You sound so wise,
Do I?
so emotionally wise. And
I think emotional intelligence, I would like to think I'm quite high up on that. And
Yeah.
academically, I've always been decent.
Yeah, brilliant.
I'm a bit daft when it comes to like general knowledge and stuff, but it's all right because me and Craig complement each other there.
Brilliant.
So it's good.
good team.
Yeah.
How kind are you?
We're going 10 as well. I'm
Yeah.
backing myself today, and I must be
That's a
having
good
a good
thing.
day.
No, I love it. I hate it when people apologise for rating themselves highly.
No, I think like kindness to me is probably my number 1 value.
Okay.
Because it filters into everything, doesn't it?
Yes.
But yeah, we'll go on 10. We'll thank my
Excellent.
mum for that. She's very kind too.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
And the question you've been waiting for?
Yeah.
How good at sex are you?
Are we going before accident or
This
now?
is interesting, yeah. And if you don't mind talking
don't
about
mind talking
it,
about it
how
at
has
all.
it changed things?
Yeah, because I think it's a subject that people don't want to talk about,
No.
and it's massive. Like
It's
I
massive,
say,
yeah.
our relationship has gone from partnership to carer and patient, really.
Yeah.
And obviously, for a long time, couldn't move. Never mind, have sex, couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
That's hard on Craig, I think. And we have a very open relationship to talk about that. But I think for some people, that's a massive thing. And I remember my consultant saying to me, a lot of relationships won't survive this.
Yeah.
Because there's all the mental stuff, there's obviously the physical side, there's everything. So it has changed it. Obviously, I'm getting better in myself now. So I would say before 10, why not? Might
Yeah,
as
of
well go
course.
10.
Yeah.
Then 0. We're maybe at a 4 now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're maybe at a
God
4.
bless you.
And a lot of that is to do with how I feel about myself
Yeah.
as well. Because obviously I don't feel as attractive. Like I asked him about the question on the good looker and he was like, it's always a 10. And I was like, you're lying. Like, look at the state of me. And he doesn't see that because, he loves me, and it would be the same if it was the other way around. But that, obviously that want to be intimate with somebody comes from how you are feeling in yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm just not quite there yet, but I will get there, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, thanks for openly talking about that
No,
one.
it's
But
all
it's
right.
such a taboo subject.
No
Sometimes-
one wants to talk about it. I think
No.
everyone does it. And most people do it. Like,
Yeah.
and I think I remember in hospital and, when people came to see me and I would talk about it and you could see people were like, oh, I
Yeah.
don't want to talk about this. And I think, but it's massive.
It's really important.
We're young people, like it's part of our lives.
Yeah.
So,
And how does your partner view that?
dead patient.
Yeah.
Just like, honestly, he's the most laid back man and I'm like the most highly strung woman. So it's like a real good balance. No pressure. Like there's not, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll never know what goes on truly in his head because you never do. But we talk about it and, if I'm not feeling great and he understands, like he just gets it.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful because, I just think not everybody would be quite as... quite as understanding probably. Like, if they had more, needs, they, you don't know what would happen. So, I think he's brilliant. Yeah.
But you're brilliant too.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much, Kat.
Thank you.